Missing something important can be one of the worst feelings in the world, especially when it costs you something. Stick around, I want to explain. Okay, so unfortunately, I'm no stranger to running late, but this story takes it to a whole new level. This past summer, I got to fly to Ontario for one of my friend's weddings. Well, wait, not last summer, but maybe whatever summer it was that I was allowed to travel. Beth managed to find a great deal on a red-eye flight about 3 weeks before the wedding, and so as soon as she saw it, she booked the flight. Now, remember, this flight was booked for 12:15 a.m. I got to the airport early, but when I got to the self-check-in kiosk, it said that my flight had already left. In a panic, I ran to the check-in counter only to find out that Beth had booked the flight for 12:15 the previous day. I had to buy a one-way plane ticket for $750. Now, before I sit here and tell you about how Beth messed it all up, let me tell you what happened on my return flight. Now, due to some last-minute unforeseen circumstances, my ride to the airport ended up having to leave me stranded in Hamilton with no ride and no place to stay that night. Luckily, my cousin, who I hadn't seen in a couple of years, lived pretty close and offered for me to stay on his couch and to drive me to the airport at 5 a.m. By the time he picked me up, it was already pretty late, and we ended up spending a lot of time laughing and catching up together. Unfortunately, we only left a few hours to sleep before we had to get up again the next morning. There's no real surprise here. We both slept through our alarms that morning, and I missed my flight and had to buy another one-way ticket. Okay, yeah, the first one was Beth's fault, but the second one, that's on me. I was tired, and I didn't do what I needed to do to be prepared for what I knew was coming. There are so many parts of the Bible that speak to this, but I want to take a second to look at one particular moment with Jesus. In Matthew 24, verses 42 to 44, Jesus is talking about the time that he's going to return back to earth. Therefore, keep watch, because you don't know on what day the Lord will come. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known what time the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So you must also be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. At Momentum, we talk a lot about Jesus ascending into heaven and giving us this great commission to go and make disciples. But today I want to point out the fact that Jesus also said he was coming back. And this means something for us. That great commission that Jesus gave us, we actually have to go do that. We don't want to be the people that weren't ready when Jesus comes back. When you stand before God one day, what will he find you doing? Will you be happy to know that you've been working really hard doing what he's called you to do? Or will you reflect on this time during our lockdown and say, yeah, I got really good at sports, I watched a lot of Netflix, and I'm really good at Call of Duty. Please hear me. Those things aren't inherently wrong, and God's grace has even saved us from our sins. But I want to be a person that stands before God and knows that I did everything that I could to do what he had called me to do. As Christians, we're called to go make disciples. We're called to worship God in every aspect of our life. And we're called to help people who need it. Trust me, I know this lockdown can be so frustrating, and I also know that what's going on in this world can cause a ton of anxiety, but we can't let this time go to waste. We need to take a second and look at this lockdown as a perfect opportunity for us to get connected with God again, to realign ourselves with God's plan for our life. Okay, here's my challenge to you today, and it's only going to take 2 minutes. I want you to take a second and ask God, during this lockdown, what area of my life do you want me to work on? Then once you've asked God this, I want you to write it down on a piece of paper and put it somewhere like where you charge your phone at night, somewhere where you're going to see it every day. That's it. That's my challenge. All right. Thanks for joining me. If you got this far, congratulations. Some people don't even know that I whisper into the mic at the end of the videos. Anyway, see you later.